Okay, another quick review before I gotta go to work. Tripped. Now, if you saw my Blitz review, that was pretty blitzy, right? Pretty crazy. If I had to choose, that was probably the better one because that was like the bestseller, and then this was done after the fact because obviously it was a bestseller and he had to make some money, and his probably agent was like, "Yo, give me another like Nazi crazy book." Even though the Nazis are barely in this, they are mentioned here and there, and especially at the beginning, because during World War II, when it was still raging across Europe, in Switzerland, Albert Hoffman invented LSD. If you didn't know that. And then this is kind of like about his downfall after the war and how the Americans basically stole the patent. They used it for MK Ultra because the Nazis were experimenting with that. The Russians, the communists were experimenting with it. And then the Americans obviously had to dominate everything because they won the war, and then they stole everybody and everybody's information, including tripping. So yeah, MK Ultra, it was very crucial. So it talks about the early days of the dudes going over to Germany or Switzerland, getting the LSD, bringing it back to America. Talks about Timothy Leary, who is also like a big LSD guru kind of guy, how he tried to order like thousands or tens of thousands of these trips or drops or solution thingies, and he was denied because the American government stepped in. What a surprise, people can't have their freedom. That was like in the 60s and stuff, and then he continued through the 70s. He was fired because he was giving his students like LSD, and then they were all tripping and shit. But anyway, Albert Hoffman's first trip is hilarious, okay? And then afterwards he microdosed. The final chapter is all about the author, Norman Ohler, the German guy, tripped when his mom has got Alzheimer's because it's been proven that it helps with that, proven that it helps with so many like mental degenerative diseases and all that stuff, but then it's all suppressed. Of course, yeah. Why? Because of pharma. Whoa, what a surprise. What have we experienced in the last 5 years? I wonder. Anyways, it's worth the read, but definitely Blitz is better because it's more about how Hitler was a crackhead and a junkie and all that stuff. And then this was kind of like, the aftermath of World War II, really. So the first one was better.